Hey there you guys, welcome back. This isn't going to be an exciting video for some, because there's not going to be a lot of pretty plants, but it will be exciting for others, especially if you live in a colder climate and you're trying to do some dormant plants. So that's what this video is all about today. It's about my dormant plants and what they're doing. It's middle of January. Hopefully I get this uploaded very, very soon. So yeah, just so that you know, the temperature outside, well, currently it's like Celsius. I think it's supposed to be like 2 degrees Celsius right now, but it's supposed to drop to minus 13 Celsius. So it's going to get really, really cold today. Yeah, and we just got a snowstorm. If it gets brighter outside, I will show you what's going on there. It happened a couple of days ago, but there's a lot of snow. I think we got like 19 inches of snow in our driveway, but we drift a lot, so our driveway might not have the full amount as the wind takes it away. So anyway, let's just get to it. Let's check out some of these plants. Like I said, currently we're in the garage. We'll look at the thermometer as well. I'll show you what I have because I really monitor the temperature like a hawk. Okay, so we'll start off here at the thermometer. It's a min-max thermometer, so this shows the lowest it's been, and it actually dipped down below freezing, which is unheard of. Usually it's around 4 degrees is what it gets, but we have had the garage open quite a bit when we were clearing the snow out the other day. So that could have caused the drop, and it got up at some point to like 35 degrees Celsius, and currently it's sitting at about 9 degrees Celsius. So it does stay quite warm in this garage. I'm actually surprised to see that it went down below freezing. This is the warmest section of the garage, closest to the house. And if I do notice that it gets a little cool here, I will prop open the door here to the house so that it warms it up just a little bit. I could go as far as to put a little space heater in here or something, or even to put plastic around the plants and then put some sort of heater or something. If you're going to do a heater, just be very, very careful that you don't cause a fire. It's a real possibility with space heaters these days. So just be very, very careful. Maybe a heat tape, heat mats, something of that nature. So yeah. So over here, I ended up tying up. This is my Trachycarpus fortunei. If with some winter protection, it can be survived outside in the ground up to like zone 5B, but I don't really want to take those precautions. I don't want to build a house with heat tape and Christmas lights and all that jazz. So I just, I have it growing in a pot, and I pull the pot in the wintertime. Last winter, I just left it as is, and I found that the leaves got crushed. So I'm trying to tie it upwards so that the leaves aren't being banged around by other plants or people, just so that it maintains some of its shape. The leaves, if you saw it in the summertime, the leaves were not the best, so I'm going to be starting with that anyway in the spring. But yeah, that's the Trachycarpus fortunei. So maybe once or twice through the winter, I will come and check the roots to make sure that there's some moisture in the root ball. You don't want to water it on a weekly schedule or even necessarily on a monthly schedule. You want to come and make sure that the plant just has a little bit of moisture in the root ball. You don't want it to stay sopping wet while it's dormant because it will rot, but you don't want it to get too dry that it desiccates. So you just want to be mindful of that. If your winters are warmer than mine, then you're going to. I'm in zone 6B, just for reference. If your area stays warmer, you'll probably have to water more often. But if it stays cool and the plant isn't growing, chances are it's not going to be taking up the water, and you might only have to water once, maybe twice through the winter season. But just keep an eye on it and see what you need to do. The plants will tell you. Over here we have the big end-set banana. It goes way up, almost to the ceiling. I don't know. I think that these ceilings are probably 10 or 12 feet tall. Yeah, maybe 11 feet. So it goes way up, way up. The leaves are just now starting to start to brown, but it's probably the temperature. And also, it's probably because it's sitting in a garbage bag with no roots. So it's not going to look great no matter what. This is the ice cream banana. And I took off all of its leaves in the fall, and that is what they look like right now. There's some more right here. So soon I'm going to be potting them up and bringing them in the house. I'm probably going to do that, let's say in April, early April. I'll probably bring them in the house and pot them up just so that they start growing. This past winter, last winter, I didn't bring them in. I just kind of kept them in the garage and put them outside on warm days and brought them inside on cold days, and especially at nights. And they didn't do very well. They were very, very slow to start this year, and they didn't take off like they normally did. Eventually, halfway through summer, they started to get their stride, but in the spring, it took them a really long time. So I want to give them that little bit of a nudge. What do we have here? We have some more dormant things. These look like canna lilies on the top. So this is probably my Petora canna lily. There's not really any signs of life, but there's no signs of death. I don't completely bare root them. Oh, there we go. There's the rhizome. So they look good still. I like to leave a little bit of soil on there, just so that it maintains a little bit of moisture, but also dries out as well. As a little cushioning, there's a nice little rhizome that broke off. It's ready to start growing. It gets warm in here when it's not freezing cold outside. We do have a lot of warm days in the winter time. And then this is the Xanthosoma Lime Zinger. This one's one of my favorites. It's gonna progressively grow and then stop, but it's cool enough in here that it's not gonna try to grow like crazy and eventually kill itself. Again, with these guys, I'm going to monitor them. If I notice that they're drying out too much, I might give them a little teeny bit of a drink just to rehydrate them. But usually I don't need to give these guys any water over the winter time. This is a fun one. This is the Alocasia macrorrhiza. This is the first time that I'm keeping it in the garage over winter. This particular one. Last winter, I overwintered it in the basement with no light, and it did just fine. But I thought, oh, I've got extra. I might as well give this a try. So just recently, this leaf started to die back, and that could be because of the intense cold that we got just recently. But it also could be because I haven't watered it. So these guys here, I'm probably not going to water. But again, same rules apply. If I notice that it's getting really, really dry and the stem starts to wrinkle, then I might give it a little bit of water. Like, I'm talking a little bit of water. I'm not going to water it thoroughly. I'm not going to let it sit in water and let it soak up. I'm just going to moisten the soil just a little bit, and that should be enough. In this bag here, I've got my turmeric. Can you see in here? I've got all my turmeric. Let me get in here. They're looking not so bad. These are going to do just fine over the winter time. And in the spring, I'll be able to plant them up again. I got a lot this year. I could probably use it for cooking at this point. And then I've got my regular ginger. This particular ginger, oh, and the gladiolas. We'll look at those in a second. Let me get my hand in here. The ginger, it's looking not so great. Oh, here we go. It's not looking so great, but it's still doing its thing. Last spring, it looked a little bit worse than this, but it started to grow. So maybe I'll pot this one up early as well, and then plant this in the house for a little while to get it started. Actually, this particular ginger I don't really like. It's kind of boring out in the garden, and I don't harvest this for any ginger in the house. So I might just not grow that one this year. But I thought I'd save it just in case. And then I've got my gladiolas. I keep everything in a paper bag. Can you see in here? The paper bag doesn't want to stay open for you, so I'll put the camera right in the bag. The gladiolas, I didn't do anything to them. I just ripped them out of the garden. As you can see, I've got all kinds of little babies on here. Last year in the spring, there was all kinds of little babies that started to grow in the garden that didn't die off with the cold. So I'm eager. I left some in the garden to see if they'd still sprout, but I took out the biggest ones. But yeah, these are the gladiolas. They're looking beautiful. And yeah, hopefully they do well this year. I'm going to try to plant these somewhere in the main part of the garden because these get forgotten and then I forget to cut the flowers off. And I miss them in the summertime. And then over here, closer to the door where it gets colder, I've got my monkey puzzle tree. So this guy is hardy to zone 7, so it can tolerate quite cold. So this one I keep closer to the door, and I water it a couple of times a year because it does get the window here, so it might try to photosynthesize. And right now it's got plenty of moisture in the soil, I just checked. So I won't need to water it at all for a little while. And then back behind there, I've got the carnivorous plant garden. We've got this flower up here that's probably dry. I might be able to try to harvest some seeds if there's any in there. I'll check. And then, yeah, soon, in the next month or two, I'm going to be taking this out and I'm going to be repotting this because, as you can see, it's a right mess. Let me go to the other side here. It's squished by my car. But anyway, I've got, what one is this one? This one, I think, is the Sand Mountain. And it needs to get trimmed back. And then we've got the Tarnock up here, all Sarracenias, and then the Purpurea back here. It's really hard to see because the lights aren't that bright in the garage. I do have some Drosera in there, but I don't know what's happening with those at the moment. As you can see, it's really difficult to see. So that is the Sarracenias. I do have them sitting in a reservoir, and there is water in there. I don't keep it as full as I do in the summertime. I just want to keep the soil moist. I don't want to keep it saturated. So in the summertime, they like to be saturated, like sitting in a marsh. But in the wintertime, they just want to be moist. When they're not actively growing, you don't want to risk rotting them. So let's go in the house, and we'll see what's going on with the Amaryllis and the other things that are downstairs. Before we do that, I forgot to look at these guys. This is a pot of Colocasia. What was this one? Colocasia esculenta, not Francisii, it's Fontanensii or something. So this one here is a really, really nice one. As you can see, it's died right back. And that's okay. It will come back from the dead. It's growing still in the soil. This one I'm going to, as you can see, the pot is broken now. The wind blew it over and smashed it. So next spring, I'm going to be repotting this into a newer pot, a different pot. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Soon, when I start to give it water in maybe April or May, well, May for sure, you'll notice that there will be some life starting to grow up in the pot. I will come and trim off all of these leaves or just pull all the dead bits off when I go to clean it up in the spring. But right now, I just leave it the way that it is. And then this one here is my shell ginger. I had a mouse living in here for a while. As you can see, I've got some poison in here. We had traps in here as well. I think that the mouse is gone, but we left the poison in there just in case. I don't want the mouse in there eating it all up. So yeah, I cut this one back to the ground. It's tried to start to grow a little bit, but it's so cool in here that it's fine. It's not going to be growing very much. Most of these plants need to be above 10 degrees Celsius or 50 degrees Fahrenheit to start producing some growth. Otherwise, they stay pretty dormant. This one, the soil is pretty dry. I will probably have to give that a little bit of a drink in the coming weeks, but I'm not rushing out to do that right now. Downstairs we go. Okay, so it's bright enough outside. We'll take a pit stop and I'll show you what happened the other day. We got a crazy amount of snow. This happened overnight. Most of it happened overnight and some of it in the morning. And that was on Sunday night into Monday. If you're in Ontario, Canada, you probably got a little bit of this, if not a lot of this. Niagara region got a lot, and it just stretched all the way up to, I don't even know, Ottawa area, maybe further. So yeah. It's crazy. For one night, as you can see over there, there's a fire hydrant and it is completely buried, and we've shoveled it out so that there's access to it just in case they need it. One thing to be sure, if you have a fire hydrant on your property, make sure to shovel it out if you get snow, just to be on the safe side. So yeah, it's colder out here than I thought, and it's not plus 2 degrees Celsius. It feels much colder, and I'm not wearing a jacket. So let's go back inside. I needed to make a pit stop in the kitchen to make myself tea. This is a chocolatey chai tea, and I put some salted caramel foam on it. It's delicious. Oh, the salted caramel. Oh, so good. Makes going outside in the cold much better. Let's go downstairs. So here we are. We've got another little basket or Rubbermaid tote or whatever kind of tote it is, filled with bags of things, and hopefully they're doing well. As I go off camera, let me just put this on a tripod so that you can see better, and I'm not going to keep going off frame like this. Okay, so just up above, we've got the Amaryllis. Let's look and see here. Everything looks great. I don't see any flowers starting to be produced. There's quite the echo in the basement. I'm going to be potting these up anyway in the next, I'm going to say in the next month, over the next month. I'll do them every week. I'll maybe plant 1 or 2 so that I get some flowers before the fall, or sorry, before spring comes, and then they start doing their leafy growth. I don't want to wait too long. There's not any flower buds. So that's what I'm looking for right now. I just want to inspect them to see what's happening, taking off any dead leaves. The bulb is still nice and firm. There's nothing to be worried about with these. This one has a nice new growth starting to come out the base. Still no flowers, but that doesn't mean they're not going to flower. Look at this one. This one's really starting to put out some babies. And again, I don't see any flowers starting to be produced. So just put this out of the way, and we'll look in here. Hopefully I don't get my head in the way. I can't remember what we have in here. In here, we have all of the leafy growth. Can you see that? Okay, all of the leafy growth here on this Colocasia esculenta fontensii, or maybe it's just Colocasia fontensii. But the corms or the bulbs or tubers are doing just fine. Rhizomes. Some of them are trying to grow. I don't know whether you're able to see this. Let me lift this bag up. The leaves are all tangling. Are you in focus there? But they're looking nice. I don't need to do anything. I will come and take the leaves off. I said that a month or 2 ago when I did this last update, but I haven't gotten around to it. It's not an exact science. You want to remove the dead foliage, just because it could be a pest a hiding space. So if you can clean them off, it really helps out with reducing pest populations, if you've had pest populations. And, oh yeah, in here we have a couple of types of colocasias. This was rain lily. The rain lily bulbs are doing just fine. These guys have a beautiful pink flower. If you've never grown rain lilies, they're really worth a try. They like to be constantly moist, and after a rain, they tend to flower. Hence, they're called rain lilies. In this bag, we've got all kinds of the Amorphophallus konjac bulbs. There's no signs of growth on that one. No signs of growth on that one. They're just nice and dormant. No signs of growth on this one either. So they're happy as clams. They're just doing what they do. We've got all kinds of dead foliage in there. So just go in, remove them. It's best not to keep them, but don't stress yourself out. If you don't have time, you don't have time. But if you had a pest population, it's probably a good idea to take advantage of this time and clean it up the best you can. And then here we have the big trunks of the colocasias, or no, these are alocasias. More amaryllis. Put them up with these ones. So with the alocasias, hopefully my head's not completely in view. I just want to make sure that they're still firm. I don't want to make them dry out too much. They've still got moisture in the bags. I don't have water in the bags, but you could feel the humidity in the soil when you go in and touch. This one actually is quite wet, so it's good that I took the bag off, or the paper bag with the amaryllis. I'm just going to keep this as exposed as I can. I don't want it to stay too wet because it will rot, because they're not actively growing. So keep them just slightly dampened, and make sure that they don't have any squishiness. They're firm, firm, firm. So in maybe mid-April, I will start taking these out and planting them up in pots and just give them a warm place to try to start to sprout. And that should be exciting. Let me know if you want to see me potting these up in future videos. And let's go into the grow room and see the Plumerias. Oh, another little fun one that you should be keeping dormant over the winter time is the Oxalis triangularis. As you can see, we've got some dead leaves here, and that's perfectly fine. They do actually much better if you let them have a dormancy period in the winter time. So if you see your plant in the fall start to look a little bit spindly, a little less than beautiful, just stop watering it. Let it die back, put it in a dark closet, and in the springtime start watering it again, and it'll give you beautiful growth. I like to put mine outside because they grow better outside. In the summertime in pots, I usually use them as a little bit of a ground cover in other plant pots. If you have geraniums or if you have, I don't know, things that stand more straight up, they look beautiful with that. I think I also planted them with petunias in the past, and people commented on it because it's a beautiful, this particular one is purple, but people commented on the purple foliage next to the green foliage of the petunias. They loved it. So anyway, let your Oxalis go dormant. Many times I just have it out in the garage in a mixed planter, and it comes back, and then I transplant it wherever I want it the next year. Let's get to the Plumerias. Okay, the most unglamorous spot in forever. So these are the Plumerias. Some of you have asked about the Plumeria seedlings. These are the Plumeria seedlings. So yeah. You're getting to see them now. Hopefully you're watching this video if you've been asking. Otherwise, this is for naught. So the Plumerias are very, very dormant. As you can see, the well, this one is very, very dormant. I'll look at another one in a second. But see how the new leaves are flattened against the tip there? That just, they're quite dormant. When they start to come out of dormancy, you'll see right here, they're standing straight up. They want to grow. They want to do their thing. Here's another one here. Don't mind the sink and all the stuff around the sink. This one here wants to grow, but it is completely dry, so it's not going to do much more than this. So you'll see that. And then what you're looking for with Plumeria is along the stem, this one here that I'm getting really close to, see how it's starting to wrinkle, and the one behind it, that amount of wrinkling is fine. I wouldn't do much with it right now. But if you felt uncomfortable, you could put a small amount of water in the pot, and it will soak it up and plump the plant back up without bringing it out of dormancy again. You don't want to water it thoroughly. You just want to give it a little bit of a drink to sort of hydrate the roots, but not enough that it thinks it's time to grow again. Just a little sprinkle, a little shower. And yeah, another thing you want to look for on your Plumerias or any of your dormant plants is look at the growth points. Here we'll go to this one. And last year I had mealybugs starting to grow on, or starting to live on the growth points of my Plumerias. So I'd have to come in with an insecticidal soap and spray from time to time. And then in the springtime, because I didn't kill everything, I went out there and I sprayed the crap out of them with a sharp spray of a hose to actually dislodge them. Here's some more over here, leaning the other way. These ones want to come out of dormancy. It's kind of a rough spot for them where they are because they're in the grow room just back behind the furnace. So it's about 22 degrees to 25 degrees Celsius in here. And yeah, they want to try to grow, but because they're so dry, they're not going to grow. So yeah. And then over here we have the crinum lilies. They've still got green to the leaf, or not to the leaf, to the stem. I might have given this a little splash of water once this winter, but all in all, I was just trying to keep these euphorbia. What are these? The Madagascar jewels. I wanted to keep them with some leaves. There's another one kind of under there. There's a few of them in this pot. I didn't want them to defoliate. And then in here, I have some more Amorphophallus konjac. This one started to grow, but I'm not watering it, so the poor thing. And then there's another leaf under there. They have their own schedule sometimes, but sometimes you just need to give them tough love and say, you're growing at the wrong time of the year, you're not getting water, and whatever will be, will be. It probably won't kill the plant. It will make the corm size smaller because it's not getting nourishment when it's trying to grow, but it'll get smaller, and then when it starts to grow in the spring again, you'll just fertilize it and water it as normal, and it should size it back up. So that was a tour of all of the stuff that I have dormant at the moment. I'd love to know how you store your stuff dormant. Everybody has a different way. Some plants are a little bit more susceptible to drying out or dehydrating. So some people will take Ziploc bags and poke a few small holes in them and keep them in some peat moss with a little bit of moisture just to keep them through. Things like Syningias are big on that. They don't want to dry out completely, but they don't want to be wet either. So it's kind of a game. I think begonias are like that too. They don't want to dry out completely, and if you've tried to do begonias and they've desiccated to a point where they're dead, that might be the thing. You might need to give them a slightly moistened, just dampened peat moss or wood shavings or something to survive in over the winter time, just enough to not have them die. So that's a juggling game. So again, I'd love to know what you're doing to store your bulbs over winter, or plants, or whatever you're storing, because winter is harsh, pests are real in the house, and sometimes storing them dormant is just the easiest way to do it. It also takes up a lot less space. You can stack things, I'm gonna go on forever. So anyway, until next time, you guys, happy growing.